Folks, welcome back to the abandoned Mt Moriah Cemetery. Now, I did a video, actually two videos here. I think it was in 2017. I did a primarily drone video on this side. This is the Yaden side. And then on the Philadelphia side, I did sort of an exploration / drone video. And it was more or less to help out the Friends of Mt Moriah. They are a non-profit group that are taking care of this cemetery. It became abandoned in 2004 when the last owner died. And they've been caring for the cemetery and cleaning it up. It was in a really bad way for a long period of time. But the reason I'm back here is a story broke about 6 days ago, and it's quite a story. A gentleman named Jonathan Gerlach was caught stealing corpses and bones from the cemetery. This is one of the mausoleums right here that was hit, right behind me. Let me turn you around here. Now let's back up a little bit. The Friends of Mt Moriah had noticed that some of these mausoleums had been broken into. You can see this one is freshly cemented up here. This was back in November, right around Halloween. They called the police. The police were investigating. They noticed quite a bit of these mausoleums had been broken into. Let's walk up here. Now, they ended up setting up a sting because the desecration of these graves continued. Underground vaults were being broken into and mausoleums were being broken into, and remains, bones, corpses were being taken. Entire bodies. This is another one here that was hit. Just from what I saw in the news report, you can see that's freshly bricked up there, concreted up. Now they ended up setting up a sting, and they caught the guy. He was coming in at night with crowbars, ladders, mountain climbing equipment to rappel down into these underground vaults, which I'll show you here in a minute, and breaking into these mausoleums using crowbars and whatever he could. Now, he wasn't just stealing jewelry and things like that of value. No. Like I said, he was stealing entire bodies. Primarily, that's what he was doing. That's what he was here for. Let's take a look at this one here. You can see, even in the wintertime, this is somewhat overgrown yet here. This area I'm in right now actually is an outstanding feature of the cemetery. And you can see it in pictures online and on other videos. I call this Mausoleum Row. So this gentleman was stealing entire bodies, decomposing bodies, bones. Now, the police caught him red-handed coming out of the cemetery at night. This is about a week ago, maybe a little over that. He had a bag of bones with him and boxes of bones in the back seat of his car. What the police did was they went back to his house, which is in Ephrata, which is in Lancaster County. Now, I'm actually local to this area. I'm about an hour, actually not even quite that, from here, from Mt Moriah. I'm sort of in between Ephrata and this place here. I actually was in Ephrata about 2 weeks ago purchasing an e-bike for my wife, probably real close to his house. They actually went back to his house, and what they found horrified them. He had over 100 bodies in his house, skeletons, decomposing remains. Now, keep in mind, this is an old cemetery. This is one of the Victorian cemeteries in the outskirts of Philadelphia. And I will say this is the Yaden side, like I had mentioned. The Philadelphia side is down there, across Cobbs Creek Parkway. That's where this Philadelphia city limits begin. He was robbing, they suspect at least 30 bodies from this side here, breaking into underground vaults, into these mausoleums. Now when I say underground vaults, let's see if I can, we'll walk over here, see if we can find one. Because this cemetery was not policed, it was largely abandoned, he was able to get away with this for 2-3 months at least. Like I said, back in November is when he started this. I happen to think that he probably looked online, found YouTube videos, hopefully not one of mine, maybe. There are other YouTubers who did videos on this place in the past too, and located this cemetery via videos online and targeted it because it is largely abandoned. Now there was a mausoleum in Wilkes-Barre area that I'm aware of called the Good Shepherd Mausoleum. It's been abandoned for many years. They had a similar situation back in November where a number of remains were just stolen and taken. Now, this is one of the underground vaults right here. If you were able to move that slab, probably about 800-pound slab at least, you could get down into a room, probably a fairly large room, which contained numerous coffins, numerous remains. Now, this one does not look disturbed that I can see. But I've seen other videos where it looks like some of these were disturbed. This is probably not one. I could be wrong that he was able to move. Now this story is still unfolding, and I have to wonder myself, how was he able to move a slab of that size on his own with a crowbar? Did he have help? Well, like I said, we don't know. The story is still in the process of being investigated. Let's move over here. You can see some of the overgrowth here. This area looks like here that hasn't been worked on yet. Let's see if we can walk up in here. Beautiful old cemetery, and it needs to be fixed up and repaired for the sake of those lying here. And due to the historical significance of these monuments, some of these are beautiful. You know, this area here needs work yet, and they're working on it. This is one of the largest cemeteries in Pennsylvania. I really hope that my video was not one he looked at, my 2 videos. But I have a feeling he might have, because I made these videos early on. Wasn't too many videos made that I can recall back then in 2017 on this particular cemetery. So this section here needs to be cleaned up. This is a cemetery, I think it was around 1850 it was incorporated, but I'm not sure. It could be slightly off on that. Now, the police found, as they were investigating, energy drink cans. This guy really wasn't trying to hide what he was doing. Now, you can see there's a burial here, 1994. There were burials up here up until, I think, 2014, somewhere in that time zone, and then they stopped burying people here. Wow, look at the weeds over here. And this area right here where I just came from, Mausoleum Row, that's real close to the road. I just had a walk and that was it. Just a quick walk and I was here. So he was doing his deeds real close to the entranceway. Again, he left his energy drinks just laying there, cigarette butts, not even trying to conceal. course, you know, that's going to be a nice little receptacle for getting DNA from, which I'm sure they've already done. Now they found, like I said, over 100. There was a storage area behind his house, and all through his house, skeletons. They said there were partially decomposing bodies hanging from the ceiling. Now what he was doing with these, I mean, everybody needs a hobby, right? Not this kind of hobby. He was actually selling these bones online. He had an Instagram page with pictures of all these bones and skeletons, at least some of them anyway. They probably came from here and other places. They're still investigating if he took any remains from any other cemeteries. Ephrata is about an hour and a half, 2 hours from here. So I guess they have to look at cemeteries pretty much all over the place in between these 2 points here, I guess, between his and, although like I said, the Good Shepherd Mausoleum, which I suspect, and I think the police are investigating, that he took those remains too. That's up in Wilkes-Barre. Again, that was featured on many YouTube videos. There's been quite a few YouTube videos done on that mausoleum. And I really do believe that he was looking on YouTube videos, finding these cemeteries and places to steal his bones and body from, and coming here and doing it in Cover Up Darkness. Because it was very odd back then. I remember the news reports that that allegedly he took these remains, the remains of self that were taken. It wasn't just jewelry and things. Somebody broke into that mausoleum and removed the remains. What's this here? There's a tag on the tree. You can see these are all toppled over here. Not sure what that tag is. Okay, that's a tree they do not want to cut down. Let's work our way over here. You can see how beautiful some of these monuments are. Look at that. Erected in the memory of William Calbraith, died April 27th, 1888, it looks like. And his wife is buried there too. You got these large obelisks, which you do see in these Victorian cemeteries. Look at that one there. That was right behind the mausoleum row. That's one that's over there. Another large one. Let's make our way up this way here. I want to take a look at maybe some of these, more of these underground vaults that he may have hit. I do know of at least one mausoleum on the other side, the Philadelphia side, that he broke into. Maybe we'll try to get over there. Crossing over Cobbs Creek Parkway. We could end up in a cemetery like this if I'm not careful. It's a busy highway. I'm going to walk up here. I never knew that with these underground vaults, that if you just move the slab aside, there's an entire room. It's not like they're just buried in the soil. There's an entire bricked off room underneath that you can rappel down into, and this is what he did. And the coffins are just sitting there. He broke open the coffins. So not only did he, do this heinous deed, he damaged the monuments too. Very old Victorian monuments and mausoleums that he broke into were damaged. Now the police have and the forensic experts have a daunting task on their hands. Oh, excuse me. It is cold out here. Trying to match up all these bodies to find out which, mausoleum they go back into. Look at that large one there. It's hard to describe the scope of this place, but it is huge. Many of these tombstones are hidden in brush and overgrown weeds. I believe there was around 4 of these type of cemeteries here outside the Philadelphia city limits. As the city grew, of course, it started to encompass that side of the cemetery, which is across Cobbs Creek Parkway. That became Philadelphia. You can see way over there is Center City. I don't know if you can see the buildings way over there. So let's walk over here. It's cold, but I'm dressed pretty warm. I'm pretty comfortable, actually. There's a weeded section back there. And more weeds over there. Oh, I see something over here. Oh, yeah. Right in front of me. Look at that. That's one he broke into, for sure. I don't know what that is. Maybe there was a tree there. There's no grave there. But look at this. Wow. And nobody's even tried to put this one back. Look at that. And you look down in there, and it goes down in there. It's like a room. I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty dark. You're not going to see any remains. This is probably removed all the remains. I do think, no, that's a wall. I was going to say, I think I saw a coffin there. Wow. This had to be one that was hit. That's a shame. Look at that. I don't think I see a coffin in there at all, to be honest with you. It's gone. Elizabeth Dietrich, wife of Lewis, died in October 4th, 1894. She was only 32 years old. Jeez. But this is one he broke into. Wow. Can you imagine that? This young man, I think it's like 32 years old, coming up here in the middle of the night, on multiple nights, just tearing open these graves. I don't think it was just for money. I think he had this obsession. There are people who are like that, have an obsession with death and remains. I don't understand it. Oh, you can see, look here. Sorry to change track so quickly. That's just the way I am, but look at how that's been moved. We just spotted that. See the scrape marks on it? Get down there. So that's a crowbar he used. And he moved this thing aside with a crowbar. I'm sure this one was hit. Jeremiah Krumbach died in 1853. There were actually 3 family members who were in this wall, so it's an entire room. Wow. Look at that beautiful tree there. I don't know what it is, but wow, it's been here a long time. Probably since the cemetery was started. That's huge. You would have thought that he would have been hitting graves further back here, away from the road, so that people, wouldn't catch him. But no, he was right up front there, like I said, with those mausoleums right up front. Some of these mausoleums, I don't know if they're in this particular part. It might be over in the Philadelphia side there. He actually rappelled down through maybe a vent in the roof. Maybe it broke open a hole in the roof. This is what somebody said. Maybe one of the other YouTubers I was watching the video. I haven't really read that, so I don't know whether that's the truth or not. But I know he did rappel down into the underground vaults to find the remains. Look at this obelisk here. It was once up there, but it's not anymore. How did that come down? Look at that. It's laying here. That is a huge slab of granite. That couldn't have just fallen over. Somebody had to knock that off. Over the years, there's been vandalism here because it has been largely abandoned. If you don't know what these cemeteries are, these Victorian cemeteries, this was a thing back then. You could visit your loved ones just outside the city in a serene, gentle environment. People used to come out and used to sit by the grave and have lunch. It was more of a park. Well, not so more of a park, but it was a park plus a cemetery. And this is why these large cemeteries exist, just outside the city limits. This was a thing back then. Let's see if we can get over to the Philadelphia side. I do see construction people here. There was a construction trailer right out front when I came in. So I don't know whether this is part of the investigation. They're going to have to come back in here once they determine whose remains go where. And they're going to have to reinter them. So the bricked up mausoleums will have to be broken into again. And then the bodies returned. Now you might ask, why did they brick those mausoleums up if, you know, the bodies are not there and they're going to have to find them and return them? And, well, back then they didn't know what happened. They didn't know if they were going to actually be able to find these bodies, these remains. They didn't know if they were ever going to find these remains and be able to put them back. So they did not want people sneaking in there, which people would have done, you know, if there was an open mausoleum there. So they immediately bricked them up, which is what they should have done, and they did. All right, let's walk over here. We're sort of on the edge of the cemetery right here. Tell you what I'm going to do. Hearing that plane flying over reminded me I've got to put the eye in the sky up. I want to do another drone video here. I brought the drone with me. Wasn't sure I was going to use it. If it was too windy and it was just getting too cold, I wouldn't have done it, but I think I'm going to be all right to do it. Let me get into a higher portion of the cemetery here, and we'll see if we can put it up. Give you a bird's eye view what the cemetery looks like. Look at that area there. Boy, I bet you in the summertime, you would not be able to see any of those headstones. I remember when I came here and we're, you know, walking around doing an explore. This was more in the summertime. Well, it might have been springtime actually. But the weeds were just, you could walk in the weeds and you wouldn't even know it. And then all of a sudden there would be like a tombstone right there at your feet. You had to be careful you didn't trip over. They were completely hidden. Of course, this time of the year you can see them. All right, let's put the drone up right here. I'll bring you back. Mount Moriah Cemetery was established in 1855. Starting at 54 acres, it grew to well over 200 acres spanning both Philadelphia and Yeadon. The cemetery was known for its inclusivity, welcoming all different faiths and races to be buried here. Mt Moriah fell into decline when the last member of the Mt Moriah Cemetery Association passed away in 2004, leaving the cemetery effectively ownerless and leading to its official closure in 2011. Since 2012, volunteer organizations have been working to restore the cemetery. The Friends of Mt Moriah Cemetery and the Mt Moriah Cemetery Preservation Corporation have made great strides in cleaning up the cemetery, but there's a lot more work to be done. The large brownstone gatehouse was designed by Stephen Decatur Button. All right, folks, let's see if we can take a quick trip over to the Philadelphia side there and see what we can see over there. Okay, I turned you back on here. I had to walk across Cobb's Creek Bridge, which is right there. You can see they're doing all kinds of construction work here, so I wanted to wait until I got past all that noise. Now we're on the Philadelphia side. I see a mausoleum right up here. Let me turn you around. I would not be surprised if this was one that was hit. You can see how it's sort of embedded into the hillside. And up on the top they have sort of an opening, sort of a chimney vent type of thing. I don't know if I can get up there. I don't know, this one looks like if it was hit or not, I don't know. Those look like they're older blocks with some painting on it. Maybe he chose not to hit this one because it was so close to the road. That's all bricked up too, that chimney portion, so you probably couldn't go, oh wait a minute, there's a, well, that's not a hole. I thought it might have been a hole there. But this looks like maybe was one he did not get into. You can see the veterans portion over there. That's carefully cared for. The veterans take care of that. As bad as this cemetery got, that remained pristine. Now let's walk up here. You can see that's kind of a vault too, much like that one, but sort of like set deeper into the earth, I guess. The front of it's completely covered over. Here's more of these underground vaults here, these slabs. I don't know, that one, oops, I'm gonna fall here. And that one doesn't show any signs of being disturbed. I know there's a really overgrown section. I remember that section right up here on top of the hill that we explored last time we were here. When I say we, it was me, my wife, and my son, I think, were here exploring this. Again, this is back in 2017, so quite some time ago. Let's see, let's walk up there. It's interesting to see what the whole cemetery pretty much looked like. You're going to see it here in a minute. Before the Friends of Mt Moriah began working on it. This part has been remained untouched since this cemetery was abandoned. Don't know whether he would have come up here to try to steal bodies, because it is so hard to get into and overgrown. I'm sure he wanted to go for the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. But look at this. There's graves in there. There's definitely markers in there. I see a slab, remains of something laying over here. This is a mess. It's a lot of work to do. There's, see, right? Look at that. Look at this, the stones in there. Wow. Let's walk over here. The main gate is on the other side of the cemetery. You saw it on the drone video. That's all falling apart too. And look at this here. All those clumps of weeds, they're tombstones. I don't know if I could clear one of them. Wow, that is years of growth. You know, I'm falling all over the place, but there we are. Need a tombstone in there. How sad. And you see all these clumps over here, tombstones. Well, hopefully they'll get to this at some point. Like I said, this has been like this. Is the same as it was when I was here in 2017, this section. It's all volunteer, folks. If you can donate money, if you're not local and can't volunteer your time, I'll leave a link down to the Friends of Mt Moriah where you can at least donate. But they need people to help clear this stuff, and they need money to help pay for some of the equipment they need to use to remove this stuff, and maybe to fix some of these tombstones that have toppled over. Look in there. Again, I don't know what this gentleman got up here. I say gentleman, well, let's say it loosely. This guy got up here and was desecrating these graves up here. What I did read that there was at least one mausoleum he did hit up here. Again, 30, they estimate 30 remains were taken. And it may be more. I guess the investigation is still ongoing. I'm sure he's got to be working with the authorities to lessen his jail time. He's got around 500 charges against him. So I believe he is working with the authorities to help identify these remains and take them back to where they were removed from. That's a giant slab there. I doubt he removed that one. Although I see what looks like chips here. That's not bird poop. He might have attempted it, but that is a huge one. That's probably well over 1,000 pounds. I can find the mausoleum that I had read online that was hit, where he may have rappelled down through the top. I don't know if I'm in the right section. It's on this side. There's stones all up in there. See, I'm walking on weed stubble. So one time this section looked like that. And this area was cleared. When, I don't know. See, things like this toppled over. This could be, with the right equipment, could be lifted up and put back. You couldn't, I don't know if maybe a number of people could lift that, but you could lift it with a forklift or something and get that back up. There's, from what I understand, one of the bodies he had taken actually still had its pacemaker in the body. And he had taken infant bodies. There's children buried here. Adults of all ages. Remember, back in that time frame, back in the middle 1800s or so, a lot of diseases that have been eradicated now weren't eradicated back then. Children died of yellow fever and the whole thing. Measles, well, measles is making a comeback, actually. There's kind of a dip in the, not sure what that is, in front of that grave. So you come through these cemeteries and you do see a lot of children buried here. It's sad. The folks who are against vaccinations, well, do you want our society to revert back to that? So children are dying left and right at an early age because they're getting diseases that have been eradicated. Well, I don't want to get too political here, and that's starting to get into that realm, so I'll stop it there. I see a large tombstone toppled over here. One thing I am glad that I don't see here is graffiti. And that's nice to see. This just goes on and on. I was going to bring my e-bike today and just cruise all around. Get a good look at the whole, a lot more of the cemetery. Being on feet here and it being so cold that I can't even touch how big the cemetery is as far as the walking goes. But it's just too cold. You get on an e-bike and you go like 20 miles, 15, 20 miles an hour and you freeze. So that stayed home. If I can find that one mausoleum that I had read online that was hit. Oh wait, I think I see it. It's way over there. Let's head in that direction. I went totally in the wrong direction to find it. I see a lot of deer droppings here. When I was here last time, like I said, it was in the spring/summertime, and there were deer all over the place. This is like a sanctuary for them. I just looked across the cemetery here and I spotted it. The one that I saw online that had been hit. We're heading toward it now. I was going to head out to Ephrata and maybe do a little video. I know where his house is, actually, where he had all these bodies. And investigators have been there over the past days just removing body after body from the garage behind the house and from within his house. But I decided not to do that. The cemetery footage, I believe, was enough to tell the story. There's no need for me to visit the person's house. Now, as far as accomplices, I mentioned this before, that's still being investigated. I know he had a girlfriend, and so far she has not been charged. Although, how did she not know what was going on if the house was full of skeletons and bodies? That's crazy. So, whether they want to charge her as an accomplice, that remains to be seen, but I would not be shocked if they did. I don't know whether she was here in the cemetery helping him. Let's head up there. You can see where it goes on and on up there. This is a nice exercise for me. Get out and walk. There's a small above ground crypt or mausoleum here. It says Arnold on the front. Could this have been hit? Well, I don't know. This concrete looks relatively new. Yeah, maybe. Let's get up here on this ridge here. There's two mausoleums up here. At least one of them I know he hit, according to the news reports. You can see how far the cemetery stretches. I forget how many people are interred here. 50,000, 60,000. I don't remember the number. It's a shame that the largest cemetery in Pennsylvania has fallen into disrepair like this. You see over there, it continues on. That's the whole overgrown area. There's all graves up in there too. I'm sure of it. So we have one here. The front looks intact. That's not been disturbed. Unless he got in through the ceiling somehow. But that's so overgrown with weeds, briars, I doubt it. This one here, oh, look at that. See how that's been freshly cemented? There's concrete powder all over the ground here. So this is the one he hit, the Baker one. We can climb up here. Sets are a little bit dicey here. Yikes. Ooh, all right. Man falls downstairs in Mt Moriah Cemetery, gets injured. He was at 11. Just be careful here. These appear to be like they could fall. Oof. Yeah. All right, we're on top now. And look at the opening here. Could he have rappelled down in there? Well, I don't think he was a heavyset dude, so maybe. Let's see if we could peek down in there. Hopefully you won't see any remains because they've been taken. So this is one he hit for sure. Now, to get down these stairs, yikes. Oh, folks, I'm gonna have to bring you back here. All right, folks. I got down there without injuring myself or possibly ending up in a cemetery just like this. One thing I noticed here was, look at that chunk right there. That was probably broken out from the door that he busted out to get in there. It's a piece of granite, it looks like. So definitely a lot of evidence here that he hit this one. All right, folks, I'm gonna get back to my car, get warmed up. It's cold out here. I know it's a long video, but I hope you stuck with it. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did like it, and don't hesitate to join the channel. It really does help out. The more subscribers you get, the better off you are as a channel, and I can keep on going. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification also. Let you know when I upload a new video. Folks, we'll see you in the next video. Take care and be safe out there. Bye-bye.